There are some people from history you just wouldn't want to mess with, like Caterina Sforza of Italy. Caterina was married at only 10 years old in an arranged marriage to Girolamo Riario, the nephew of the Pope. And although the age difference between the two was troubling to say the least, her husband's position within society and government offered Caterina intense respect and power. But when Girolamo's uncle, Pope Sixtus IV, died in 1484, things went downhill fast. Girolamo was hated by a lot of people, and the protector of his wealth, power, and status had just died. So as soon as he received news of the Pope's death, he immediately left for Rome to defend the city and his family against those who wanted to take his wealth for themselves. But Caterina had another idea. She wasn't just going to defend the city. She was going to take over the papal fortress, and that's exactly what she did. At 7 months pregnant, Caterina rode into the papal fortress, took control over the Pope's military, and held it until her husband negotiated with the cardinals to keep his land and power. Things were okay, for now. Unfortunately, the next pope was an old enemy of Girolamo's family, and without his protection, Girolamo was soon facing attacks from every direction. Eventually, mercenaries stormed Girolamo's fortress and captured Caterina and her children. But Caterina had a plan. She convinced the attackers that she could persuade her husband's army to surrender, so they allowed her to leave on the condition that should she not return, they would execute her children. As soon as Caterina was out of the men's reach, however, she made it very clear there would be no surrender when she pulled up her dress, grabbed her groin, and basically said, "I dare you to kill my children. I have what's needed to make more." Caterina's display of such intense tenacity seemed to revitalize her husband's army, and the fortress was soon back under their control. But it was too late. Girolamo was dead. This wasn't something Caterina took lightly. She found the perpetrators and hanged some, while she had others quartered in the streets, their bodies, body parts, displayed at the gates of the city. The attackers' wealth was redistributed to the poor, and Caterina quickly reduced the taxes of her people to try and win their trust. Justice had been served. But without a husband, Caterina's power was limited. Coincidentally, Caterina soon had a second husband, and just like the first, he was assassinated. Unlike Caterina's first husband, though, her second husband was cut up into dozens of tiny pieces by his assassins, an intentional defacement of his body. Caterina was furious, so she found the perpetrators, their wives, and their children, and cut them into dozens of tiny pieces, some while they were still alive. However, the excitement in Caterina's life was far from over. Throughout the next few years, Caterina married for a third time, tried and failed to poison the Pope, lost her third husband, was taken as a prisoner of war, tortured, and finally released from her imprisonment. But all of these struggles took their toll on Caterina. She had lost all of her land and power, and her energy and will to fight were gone. So this once powerful woman, the fearsome leader who had been known as the Tigress of Forli, spent her last few years focused on her children, herbal remedies, and spiritual retreat in a local convent. One spring morning, she didn't rise from her bed. Despite her defeats and quiet death, though, she's still remembered for her tenacity, strength, and brutality, and that's why she's one historical figure that I just wouldn't want to mess with.